Have you ever felt stuck in your own mind, like your thoughts are working against you instead of for you? Maybe you've had moments where you know you should be thinking differently, but no matter how hard you try, you keep falling into the same patterns. The truth is, most people don't think, they just react. They're caught in a cycle of automatic thoughts, shaped by fear, past experiences, and limiting beliefs. And if you don't take control, your mind will run the show, keeping you small, keeping you uncertain, keeping you from the life you truly want. But what if you could change that? What if you could train your mind to think in a way that drives you forward instead of holding you back? In this video, I'm going to break down exactly how to think the right way, the way that leads to breakthrough, success, and unstoppable confidence. So let's dive in. Step 1, personal story, the power of your thoughts. I remember a time when I was stuck, completely trapped in my own thinking. I was frustrated, overwhelmed, and convinced that my situation was impossible to change. But then I realized something powerful. The only thing keeping me stuck was the way I was thinking. And this is true for you too. Every result in your life, your success, your failures, your emotions, starts with one thing: your thoughts. Your thoughts are the foundation of everything you experience in life. They shape your reality, dictate your decisions, and influence your emotions. Every action you take, every choice you make begins with a thought. The way you think determines whether you move forward or stay stuck, whether you see opportunities or problems, whether you feel empowered or trapped. Most people go through life without realizing the immense power of their own mind. They assume their thoughts are just random reactions to circumstances, something they can't control. But the truth is, your thoughts are not passive. They are creative forces. What you focus on expands. When you dwell on problems, your mind magnifies them. When you focus on solutions, you train your brain to find answers. Think about this. Everything that exists today, every invention, every business, every breakthrough, started as a thought in someone's mind. The car you drive, the phone you use, the technology that connects us right now, all of it began with an idea. Someone thought differently, challenged the status quo, and brought their vision to life. But the same principle works in reverse. Negative, self-defeating thoughts create barriers that don't exist anywhere except in your own mind. Have you ever noticed how two people can experience the same situation but interpret it completely differently? One person faces a setback and thinks, "This is the end. I'll never recover from this." Another person in the same situation says, "This is tough, but I'll figure it out. What can I learn from this?" The event itself doesn't change. The difference is in how they think. That difference determines whether they spiral downward or rise stronger. Your brain is constantly filtering the world through the lens of your thoughts. If you believe the world is full of obstacles, you'll notice every roadblock. If you believe there are always solutions, your mind will search for them. This isn't just motivational talk. This is science. The reticular activating system, RAS, in your brain acts like a filter, prioritizing information based on what you focus on. That's why when you decide to buy a certain car, you suddenly start seeing it everywhere. It was always there, but now your brain is tuned to notice it. The same thing happens with your thoughts. When you program your mind to look for opportunities, you start finding them in places you never saw before. The challenge is that most people have been conditioned to think small. Society, past experiences, and even people around you have shaped your beliefs about what's possible. Maybe you were told you weren't smart enough, talented enough, or lucky enough to achieve big things. Over time, those external voices became internal thoughts, and without realizing it, you started living by those limitations. But here's the truth. Those thoughts are just patterns, deeply ingrained but completely changeable. Your thoughts don't just affect your mind, they affect your body. When you think stressful thoughts, your body reacts as if you're in danger. Your heart rate increases, your muscles tense, and your body floods with cortisol, the stress hormone. But when you shift your thoughts to something empowering, your body follows. Your breathing slows, your energy lifts, and your confidence rises. This is why top athletes, performers, and leaders use visualization techniques, because the mind can't distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and reality. If you repeatedly think empowering thoughts, you train your brain to believe in your own success. The way you think about yourself determines what you allow yourself to pursue. If you believe you're not good enough, you'll never take risks. If you believe you're capable, you'll push yourself beyond your comfort zone. The people who achieve greatness aren't always the most talented. They're the ones who refuse to let limiting thoughts define them. They think bigger, act bolder, and challenge their own mental patterns every single day. If you change the way you think, you change the way you feel. If you change the way you feel, you change the way you act. And if you change the way you act, you change your entire life. 2, mindset shift, the default versus intentional thinking. Most people live on autopilot. They wake up, go through the motions, and repeat the same cycle, never questioning their thoughts, never challenging their beliefs. But here's the hard truth. If you don't control your mind, someone else will. You have to be intentional. You have to design your thoughts the same way you design your future, on purpose, with precision, and with power. Most people go through life without ever realizing that they are not truly thinking, they are just reacting. Their thoughts are not consciously chosen. They are automatic, shaped by past experiences, social conditioning, and emotional habits. This is default thinking. When your mind runs on autopilot, recycling the same patterns day after day. It's the mental equivalent of waking up, following a routine, and going through the motions without questioning why you do what you do. Default thinking is easy because it requires no effort. The brain is designed for efficiency, so it naturally relies on past experiences and ingrained beliefs to make decisions quickly. This is useful in some situations, like when you automatically hit the brakes to avoid an accident, but it can be destructive when it comes to bigger decisions in life. If you've spent years thinking in a certain way, your brain will continue to follow that same path, whether or not it benefits you. This is why people stay stuck in toxic relationships, unfulfilling jobs, or limiting beliefs. They don't stop to question whether their thoughts are leading them toward the life they actually want. Most people assume they are in control of their thoughts, but in reality, their thoughts are controlling them. They wake up and immediately check their phone, letting external influences set the tone for their day. They listen to negative news, scroll through social media, and absorb the opinions of others without filtering or questioning. Throughout the day, they react to situations without intentional thought. Someone cuts them off in traffic and they instantly feel anger. A coworker makes a comment and they immediately feel insecure. They don't realize that every reaction is a choice, and because they're not consciously choosing their thoughts are choosing their emotions. The real danger of default thinking is that it reinforces itself. If you constantly think in a certain way, your brain strengthens those neural pathways, making those thoughts feel natural. If you've spent years thinking, I'm not good at this, then your brain will look for evidence to support that belief. It's not that you're incapable, it's that your brain has been trained to see yourself that way. Over time, these unconscious thought patterns shape your identity, your actions, and ultimately your results. But there is another way, intentional thinking. This is when you take control of your thoughts instead of letting them run on autopilot. It means consciously choosing how you interpret situations, how you react, and what you focus on. Instead of letting external circumstances dictate your mindset, you decide what kind of thoughts will serve you best. Intentional thinking requires awareness. It starts with noticing your own thought patterns and questioning whether they are helping or hurting you. Instead of blindly accepting, I can't do this, you stop and ask, is that really true? Or is it just a belief I've accepted without questioning? Instead of thinking this situation is a disaster, you ask, what's one thing I can learn from this? Every thought can be reframed, but only if you catch it before it becomes an automatic reaction. Another key aspect of intentional thinking is asking better questions. The questions you ask yourself determine the direction of your thoughts. If you constantly ask, why does this always happen to me? Your brain will look for negative answers, reinforcing a victim mentality. But if you ask, how can I turn this around? Your brain will start searching for solutions. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions you ask yourself every day. When you train yourself to think intentionally, you stop being a passive participant in your own life. You stop reacting based on past conditioning and start making decisions that align with your goals and values. Instead of letting old fears and doubts dictate your actions, you choose thoughts that empower you. This shift changes everything, how you feel, how you act, and ultimately the results you create in your life. Step 3. Actionable steps, how to reframe your thinking. So how do you shift from reactive thinking to powerful, intentional thinking? Here's how. Catch the pattern. Every time you find yourself doubting, fearing, or procrastinating, stop and ask yourself, is this thought serving me or limiting me? Flip the script. Instead of saying, I can't do this, say, what if I could? Instead of, I don't know how, say, I'll figure it out. Train your focus. Your mind will find whatever you focus on. If you focus on problems, you'll get more problems. If you focus on solutions, you'll create results. The way you perceive a situation determines how you experience it. Two people can go through the exact same event and walk away with completely different emotions, beliefs, and actions simply because of how they interpret what happened. This is the power of perspective. The way you see something isn't necessarily the way it is. It's simply the way you are looking at it. And when you learn to reframe your perspective, you gain the ability to change how you feel, how you respond, and ultimately how you shape your future. Most people don't realize that their perspective is just a lens, a filter shaped by their past experiences, emotions, and beliefs. This filter colors everything they see, often distorting reality. If you've ever had a bad day where everything seemed to go wrong, it wasn't necessarily that the world turned against you. It was that your state of mind influenced how you perceived events. Maybe you spilled your coffee in the morning and labeled it as one of those days. So every little inconvenience afterwards seemed to confirm that belief. But if you had framed it differently, if you had laughed it off and moved on, you wouldn't have carried that negative momentum throughout your day. Your mind is constantly interpreting the world, and those interpretations create meaning. But here's the secret. Meaning is never fixed. Nothing has an absolute meaning until you assign one to it. A failure can be the end of the road or the beginning of a lesson. A rejection can be proof that you're not good enough or proof that you're being redirected towards something better. The event itself doesn't change. The meaning you attach to it does. Reframing your perspective is about consciously choosing more empowering interpretations of the events in your life. It doesn't mean ignoring challenges or pretending everything is perfect. It means looking at the same situation from a different angle, one that serves you instead of limits you. For example, instead of seeing a challenge as a roadblock, you can reframe it as a test of your resilience. Instead of seeing criticism as an attack, you can see it as feedback that helps you grow. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by uncertainty, you can view it as an opportunity to explore new possibilities. Think about a time when something went wrong in your life, something that felt frustrating, painful, or unfair. At the moment, it probably felt like a setback. But looking back, can you see how that experience led to something better? Maybe losing a job forced you to find a new career path that was even more fulfilling. Maybe a painful breakup helped you discover more about yourself and led you to a healthier relationship. What once seemed like a negative experience turned out to be a turning point. That's reframing, realizing that what seemed like a curse at the time was actually a blessing in disguise. The ability to reframe your perspective is especially powerful when dealing with fear and failure. Most people see failure as something to avoid at all costs, but the most successful people in the world see failure as a stepping stone. They don't ask, what if I fail? They ask, what will I learn if I fail? They understand that failure isn't the opposite of success, it's part of the process. If you reframe failure as feedback, you stop fearing it and start using it as fuel. Reframing isn't just about looking at the past. It's about controlling your present and future by shifting how you see things in real time. The next time you catch yourself feeling stuck, ask yourself, is there another way to look at this? What would this situation look like if I were stronger, more resourceful, or more optimistic? How would the best version of me interpret this? The answers to those questions can completely transform how you experience life. Step 4, emotional connection, the link between emotion and thought. You ever notice how your thinking changes based on how you feel? When you're stressed, everything seems impossible. But when you're excited, challenges turn into opportunities. That's because your emotions shape your thoughts. If you want to think at a higher level, you must first master your emotional state. Stand up, move your body, breathe deeply, shift your energy, and watch how your thoughts follow. Your emotions have a direct impact on the way you think, process information, and make decisions. Most people assume that their thoughts control their emotions, but in reality, it works both ways. The way you feel in any given moment significantly influences the quality of your thoughts, your perception of reality, and ultimately the actions you take. When you're in a positive emotional state, your mind is clear, creative, and solution-oriented. When you're in a negative emotional state, your thinking becomes clouded, reactive, and often self-destructive. Think about a time when you were stressed or overwhelmed. Maybe you faced a challenge that under normal circumstances would have been manageable. But because you were already in a state of frustration, everything felt worse. Minor problems seemed like major obstacles, and your ability to think logically or optimistically disappeared. Now compare that to a time when you felt confident, energized, and excited. Even if you faced difficulties, they didn't seem as threatening. You found solutions faster, took action without hesitation, and maintained a sense of control. The situation itself didn't change your emotional state, did, and that changed the way you thought about it. This is why two people can go through the exact same experience and react in completely different ways. One person, feeling anxious and fearful, sees only problems and worst-case scenarios. The other, feeling strong and focused, sees opportunities and ways to grow. It's not just their mindset, it's the emotional filter through which they're viewing the world. The human brain is designed to interpret information based on how we feel at the moment. So if you're in a state of fear, your brain will seek out evidence that justifies that fear. If you're in a state of gratitude, your brain will find things to appreciate. The external world remains the same, but the internal lens through which you perceive it is completely different. This connection between emotions and thinking is rooted in neuroscience. When you experience strong emotions, your brain releases chemicals that directly affect cognition. Stress hormones like cortisol flood your system when you're anxious or angry, making it harder to think clearly and leading to impulsive, survival-based decisions. On the other hand, when you feel excited, motivated, or inspired, your brain releases dopamine and serotonin, which enhance focus, creativity, and problem-solving abilities. This is why the best ideas don't come when you're frustrated, they come when you're relaxed, engaged, and emotionally open. Many people allow their emotions to dictate their thinking without realizing it. They wake up in a bad mood and assume the whole day will be difficult. They experience a minor setback and immediately start doubting themselves. They feel tired or unmotivated and suddenly question their abilities or worth. The problem isn't the situation itself, it's that their emotional state is influencing their perception of reality. They believe they're thinking rationally, but they're actually just filtering information through the emotions they're feeling in that moment. But here's the powerful truth. Just as emotions shape your thoughts, you can shape your emotions. Instead of letting emotions control your thinking, you can take control of your emotions and in turn, take control of your mind. The fastest way to shift your emotional state is through physiology. Your body affects your emotions more than you realize. When you stand tall, breathe deeply, and move with energy, your brain receives signals that you are strong and confident. When you slouch, breathe shallowly, and stay still, your brain interprets that as weakness or fatigue. Simply changing your posture, voice, or movement can instantly shift your emotions, which then changes the way you think. Another way to manage emotions is by controlling your focus. Whatever you focus on, you feel. If you constantly focus on problems, fears, and things outside of your control, your emotions will reflect that, leading to stress and anxiety. But if you shift your focus to solutions, possibilities, and things you're grateful for, your emotional state will follow, and so will the quality of your thinking. This is why successful people train themselves to focus on what they can control rather than dwelling on what they can't. Your emotions are not random, they are created by your thoughts, your focus, and your physiology. The way you feel determines the way you think, and the way you think determines the way you live. Step 5. Massive action thought without action is just daydreaming. Overthinking is the enemy of progress. The people who succeed aren't necessarily the smartest, they're the ones who take action despite the fear. Action creates clarity. Action rewires your brain for success. So stop waiting for the perfect moment. Take action now. Do something, anything that moves you forward. Most people wait until they have everything figured out before they take action. They believe they need a perfect plan, complete certainty, or a step-by-step roadmap before they begin. But that's the very thing that keeps them stuck. The truth is, clarity doesn't come from thinking, it comes from doing. Taking massive action, even when you don't have all the answers, is what reveals the path forward. Action creates momentum, and momentum leads to clarity. When you sit around trying to think your way to the perfect decision, you often get trapped in overanalysis and hesitation. The mind loves certainty, and when it doesn't have it, it starts creating doubts, what ifs, and worst case scenarios. You start questioning whether you're making the right move, whether you're ready or whether you'll fail. And because thinking alone won't provide the certainty you're looking for, you stay stuck in paralysis by analysis, constantly thinking but never acting. But the reality is, clarity and certainty come from experience, not from sitting on the sidelines. Imagine trying to learn how to swim by just reading books about swimming. You could study techniques, watch videos, and memorize theories, but none of that would actually teach you how to swim. The only way to truly understand swimming is to get in the water. You might struggle at first, but through real experience, you figure it out. That's how life works. You don't wait for clarity to take action. You take action to find clarity. When you take massive action, you force yourself into a state of learning. You quickly discover what works and what doesn't. Instead of guessing, you gain real-world feedback. If something isn't working, you adjust. If something shows promise, you double down. This is how successful people operate. They don't wait to feel ready. They just start, knowing that clarity will come through the process. They understand that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the journey. Every setback gives them data. Every misstep teaches them something, and every forward movement provides new insights that they wouldn't have discovered by just thinking about it. Action also destroys fear and doubt. Most of the things people fear exist only in their minds. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough. But when you take action, you realize most of those fears were illusions. You stop overthinking because your mind is too engaged in doing. The fastest way to build confidence isn't by waiting to feel confident. It's by taking action despite your fear. Confidence is a byproduct of experience. The more you do, the more you prove to yourself that you're capable. Think about a time when you hesitated on something for too long. Maybe starting a project, making a decision, or taking a leap of faith. You probably spent weeks or months overthinking it, stressing about what could go wrong. But once you finally took action, you realized it wasn't as complicated as you made it out to be. In fact, once you got moving, you started to figure things out naturally. That's what massive action does. It forces clarity. Another powerful effect of taking massive action is that it shifts you from a passive state to an active state. When you're just thinking, you're reacting to your own doubts and insecurities. But when you're in motion, you take control. You stop being a victim of circumstance and start shaping your own destiny. Suddenly, you're not waiting for opportunities, you're creating them. You're not hoping things work out, you're making them work. Massive action doesn't mean reckless action. It means committed, relentless execution. It means not dipping your toe in the water, but diving in fully. It means not taking a few hesitant steps, but going all in with full intensity. When you move with that level of energy, doors open, new opportunities appear, and your next steps become clear. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to start, adjust as you go, and trust that clarity will follow. Step 6, the ultimate thinking habit. At the end of the day, your thinking is either building your future or destroying it. So decide today. You are in control. You shape your thoughts, and your thoughts shape your life. The way you think shapes everything in your life. Your decisions, your emotions, your actions, and ultimately your destiny. Most people don't realize that their thinking is a habit, just like anything else. The patterns of thought they repeat every day, whether empowering or limiting, become ingrained, shaping how they see the world and what they believe is possible. If you don't take control of your thinking, it will be shaped by external forces, past experiences, social conditioning, fears, and doubts. But if you develop the ultimate thinking habit, you gain the ability to direct your mind with precision, creating the outcomes you truly want. At its core, the ultimate thinking habit is about conscious, intentional thinking. It means deliberately choosing what you focus on, how you interpret situations, and what meaning you assign to events. Most people operate on mental autopilot, letting their minds wander into negativity, self-doubt, or reactionary emotions. But when you train yourself to think in a specific way, one that empowers you rather than limits you, you gain a level of control over your life that few people ever experience. One of the most powerful aspects of this habit is asking the right questions. Your brain is always searching for answers, whether you realize it or not. The questions you ask yourself determine the direction of your thoughts. If you constantly ask, why do things never work out for me, your brain will find reasons to confirm that belief. But if you ask, how can I turn this into an advantage? Your brain will shift into problem-solving mode. High achievers train themselves to ask empowering questions that lead to growth, solutions, and progress rather than staying stuck in problems. Another critical part of this habit is reframing challenges into opportunities. The way you interpret difficulties determines how you respond to them. Most people see obstacles as roadblocks, but those who master their thinking see them as stepping stones. They don't ask, why is this happening to me? Instead, they ask, what can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger? Every situation in life carries a lesson, but only those who control their thinking extract the wisdom and use it to move forward. The ultimate thinking habit also requires relentless focus on what you can control. Most people waste mental energy worrying about things outside of their influence, other people's opinions, external circumstances, or random events. But peak performers train themselves to focus only on what they can change: their mindset, their effort, and their actions. This shift eliminates unnecessary stress and allows them to direct all their energy toward making real progress. Emotion plays a huge role in thinking, which is why another key part of this habit is managing your emotional state. Your emotions influence the quality of your thoughts, and if you allow yourself to stay in negative emotional patterns, your thinking will reflect that. High-level thinkers don't wait for their emotions to change. They take intentional action to shift their state. They use movement, breathing, music, or even direct self-talk to elevate their mood and in turn elevate their thinking. Perhaps the most underrated aspect of the ultimate thinking habit is acting before you feel ready. Most people wait until they feel confident, motivated, or certain before taking action, but the reality is confidence and clarity come from action, not before it. Those who have mastered their thinking know that hesitation kills momentum, and they condition themselves to move forward even when they don't have all the answers. They trust that they will figure things out along the way. Developing this habit takes time and effort, but once it becomes second nature, it transforms every area of your life. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop doubting and start deciding. You stop waiting and start moving. When you think at this level consistently, nothing stays the same. Your mindset, your results, and ultimately your future all rise to a completely new level. Everything in your life, your success, your happiness, your relationships, your ability to overcome challenges comes down to one thing: how you think. Your thoughts shape your emotions, your decisions, and your actions, which ultimately determine the results you get. If you think by default, letting fear, doubt, and past conditioning dictate your mindset, your life will be a reflection of those limitations. But if you train yourself to think intentionally, reframing challenges, controlling your focus, managing your emotions, and taking massive action, you gain the power to shape your reality instead of being controlled by it. The quality of your life will never exceed the quality of your thinking. If you want a different life, it starts with a different mindset. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need to wait for permission, motivation, or the perfect moment. You just need to start. Take control of your thoughts, take control of your emotions, and take action, because once you do, the clarity, the confidence, and the results will follow. Your mind is the most powerful tool you have. Master it, and you master your future.